I never thought I'm gonna be so excited about starting to work on a navbar, but here we are. I know we have been into this course for a long time and we're still seeing just an empty screen, but trust me, it was needed. My goal with this course is for you to fully understand the powers of Next.js. And sometimes, yes, it does take time, but trust me, it will be worth it once we put it all together and it all makes sense in your head. So with that said, for one final time in this course, I'm going to push this to GitHub and I'm going to say implement theme provider and commit it right here and sync changes. And we're going to also create a new branch that's going to be called 015 navbar and publish it. The reason why I said I'm doing this the last time in this course is because even though I will keep doing it, I won't mention it from now on because it's taking time from our lessons. I want to ensure that the lessons are laser focused on the specific concept that that lecture is covering. So the only thing that will be there for you is on the bottom left corner, you'll exactly know on which branch I am when you're watching the course and you get stuck. So for example, in this lecture, we're going to work on the navbar. You'll know that it's a navbar on 015 navbar because you can see it on the bottom left. You can go right here or use whatever other platform I use to share this code with you. Then you go to GitHub and then you see that specific branch and the code related to it. So in the next part, I'm not going to mention it. It's just going to be 16, 17, or something else. Great. Let's move forward by actually starting with the navbar. The navbar is going to be used within our layout, but not this global layout right here that we have, within the root layout, because we only want pages within the root to have the navbar, not the ones within the auth, which is exactly why we have those route groups. So right here in the root, we can create a new file called layout.tsx. And within here, we can run rafce, rename this to a capital layout or a capital L there. We get children as props, and we can say that the children are of a type react.react node. So what are we going to return here? Well, first of all, we're going to return a main folder with a class name equal to background dash light 850 underscore dark 100. So see here, we're using those different concepts of having dark and light mode immediately done together. We'll see soon how that's going to turn out once we implement the theme context. We also want to set the position to relative. Now, immediately within it, we're going to render navbar for now just as a piece of text, later on as a real component. Then we want to create a div that's going to have a class name equal to flex. And then here, we want to create the left sidebar. And on the right, we're going to have a right sidebar. But in the middle, we want to have the actual content. So this is going to be a section element with a class name equal to flex, min-h-screen, which means it's going to take the full screen, flex-1, flex-call, so the elements are going to appear in a column, padding x of 6, padding bottom of 6, padding top of 36 to position it well, max medium devices, PB or padding bottom 14, and in small devices, PX as in padding horizontal 14. That's a lot of classes, but you'll see soon why that makes sense. Inside of here, we're going to render another div that's going to have a class name of mx-auto, meaning we want to center everything with margin horizontal, w-full, and then max-w-5xl. So this is the max width we're going to put. And then within here, we render the children, meaning absolutely everything else that we have. And below this div containing the sidebars, we're going to have something known as a toaster component. So this is going to be just a notification pop-up that's going to come up once we do some kind of an action. And I hope you can see what this layout is for. From line 5 to line 20, we essentially have the entire structure of our application. Navbar, left sidebar, right sidebar, and the toaster. And if we look at it here, if we remove the UI, you can notice this is exactly what our application is going to look like. Left sidebar right here, we have a nav at the top. Here we have the main content, and we have the right sidebar on the right side. So now let's turn these basic text elements into actual components. And we can do that by creating a new folder right here called components. And within it, we're going to have a special structure for our components. We're going to have a shared folder where we're going to put only the components which we're going to use across all the application. And within that shared folder, we can also create a navbar folder. So here we're going to have components specifically related to the navbar. Within it, we can create a new navbar.tsx file. Now this navbar is going to be RAFCE, meaning just a regular functional component. And we can now go back to our app, to our root layout, and we can import it right at the top by converting this into a self-closing component, double-clicking and then pressing Control, or I believe it's Command space on Mac, and simply automatically importing it from components. So now if we go right here and reload, you can see everything turns dark because we have dark mode enabled. We have this little part, and then if you really closely hover over things, you can see the left and right sidebar here alongside the navbar. They're currently hidden, right? Because they are black on black, but we're going to fix that really soon. So let's Control click to move into the navbar, and let's start implementing its code. The navbar is going to be an HTML5 semantic nav tag. It's going to have a class name equal to flex between background dash light dash 900 underscore dark 200 to contrast it a bit from the background. It's going to be fixed on top. It's going to have a Z50, meaning it's going to show on top of other elements. It's going to have a W full for full width, a gap of 5 between elements, a padding of 6, a shadow of light 300, and on dark mode, the shadow is going to be none. And on small devices, the padding X, meaning horizontal, is going to be 12. So now if we save this, you still kind of see it, but you will see it once we start adding more things within the nav, such as the link to our homepage. So let's create a link component. And of course, you have to import it from next link, right? Just like so. And within that link, we're going to have an image, a self-closing image tag, which we also have to import from next image. The link is going to have an href property, just a /, and a class name of flex, items-center, and gap-1. And the image is going to have a source equal to /assets, /images, /site-logo.svg. The width is going to be 23. The height is going to be 23, and the alt tag is going to be devflow. If we save this and reload the page, you can see that our navbar now is a bit contrasted over this black background, and we can see the logo, which now points to the home page. To add a bit of color, below the image, we can have a p tag, and that p tag is going to say dev, and then within a span, that's going to have a class name equal to text-primary-500. We're going to say something like orflow or just flow, whatever you prefer. If we save this and reload the page, you can see dev orflow right here. But of course, we have to style it a bit by giving it a class name equal to h2 bold font space grotesque text-dark 100. On dark, text-light 900, and on Mac's small devices, it's going to be hidden because it cannot fit on mobile devices. So now if we save that and reload, you can see that this already is looking a bit better. Below the link, we're going to have a component which is going to be a global search. Definitely something we'll create later on, later down the line, as it's a big component. It's going to allow us to search across all questions and tags and users and everything. It's going to be a pretty great learning point of implementing global search across the entire application. And next to it, we have to have our profile and the switcher for the theme. So let's do just that. We're going to have a div that's going to have a class name equal to flex-between and gap-5. And there we can render what's going to become a theme component and then use some functionalities from Clerk. You know how I mentioned at the start that you have to do something like const is logged in and then make a check? That's no longer the case with Clerk. You get access to something known as signed in. So it looks like this, signed in. You have to import it from Clerk next. And then if your user is signed in, only if they are, the code within it is going to show. So remember that user button that we had in the home page? Let's go ahead and take it from home page, this user button right here. We can copy it and remove it from the home. Right here. Go to the navbar and paste it. We only want to show a user button imported from Clerk next, only if we indeed are logged in. So right here, you can see we now have it at the top right of the navbar, which makes it look really good. We can also provide it some additional appearance properties. So we can do appearance is equal to an object where the elements of the avatar box are h-10 and w-10. So we set the width and the height, and also the variables is going to be color primary set to our own color FF7000. Now if we save this and reload the page, you can see that now we have our color right here and also right here. We're using our own DevOrflow colors. And below the signed in, later on, we're going to render our own mobile navigation bar. Overall, this is already looking great, but I'm more interested in the theme part. I said that's going to be something we want to really focus on in this lecture. Okay, all of this is looking great. The main UI of the app is done. Yes, we do have some components such as global search that we can implement later on. But for now, I want to focus on theme and make a real toggle that's going to allow us to switch between the light and dark mode. And I believe that deserves a lesson on its own. So let's do that next.